Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm MTG Gaming Bob. Today we're going to be talking about the reasons people leave and return to Magic the Gathering. I also have a surprise for everybody, so please stay tuned. So our last video, we gave away the cards for the 75 subscriber mark. So that means this video is going to be the video you need to comment on if you want to be eligible to win the rares and mythics at the 100 subscriber mark. As an added bonus for hitting 100, we're going to toss in an extra pack. So please make sure you leave comments on this video and continue to watch until we hit that 100 subscriber mark. In the intro, I mentioned that we're going to be talking today about the reasons people leave and come back to Magic. I'd like to introduce my friend Matt, who's a recent returnee to Magic the Gathering. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me. I hope to provide some good content and kind of give some insight on what it's like to quit Magic for a little bit and then come back. I don't ever really say I ever quit Magic. It's more about just kind of leaving it off to the side. And I guess today we're going to talk about what makes us do that. What makes us kind of just kind of put them in the closet and just kind of come back, a year later, sometimes longer.
I've heard a lot of that out there in the community. We're not certainly unique at our hitting the pause button on Magic. Some people will leave and fire sale everything. I'm just out of it. I've actually done that at one point back in 1997. I really didn't like the direction it was going with Fallen Empires and Chronicles and Homelands. It was just a bunch of really bad sets all back to back to back, and it felt like it was just really heading in a bad direction. Figures I got out right before Alliances when they turned the corner and started making better sets.
Yeah, I started playing back in the Betrayers of Kamigawa age. That was when I actually initially first started back when I was in high school. I went to my first card shop with one of my buddies, and it was actually not about Magic. It was about Yu-Gi-Oh! And then once I saw them, I think they were doing a tournament or something. It was a Magic tournament, and I decided, I'm like, hey, I like this trading card game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Why not try out Magic?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so this was, like I said, this was in high school years because I graduated in 07. So this would have been, prime high school years.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was out of high school long before Magic even started, so I'm pretty old.
Looking at the sets, I can tell you that I apparently didn't stick into Magic for that long in the beginning. I don't remember these things because it's been, 15 years. And I don't have the most amazing of memory, but looking at the sets, I know for sure I played Dark Steel. I know I played Fifth Dawn. I know I played Champions of Kamigawa. But then I look at Ninth Edition. I actually do remember Ninth Edition because I remember my buddy had a Thorn Elemental. That was pretty good. But Ravnica, City of Guilds, I think I stopped after Ninth Edition, which is unfortunate because I've heard so many good things about Ravnica. And the return to Ravnica was so great.
Yeah,
But as far as going in and out of Magic, I would say at least 3 to 4 times. And of those 3 to 4 times, I fire sailed, I think, every time.
what made you leave the first time? Like, do you recall specifically, or is it just kind of fuzzy of why you left, or do you have reasons why you left each time that you can recall?
It's typically because something else comes along that grabs my attention. It was probably World of Warcraft that just took too much time, that I kind of pushed everything else aside for.
Like for me, the first time that I got back into Magic again um, was right around Urza Saga release. Very hard to remember exact dates of when you got in and when you got out. I remember them mainly by the sets that were being released or the time frames that those are coming out. I know that I got back in mainly because I had to stop playing volleyball. I played rather seriously, and so I had to find another pastime that wasn't as active. And I had driven by a store that had the Magic sign on it, but it was basically to replace um, volleyball. And I played so much of it, like 40 hours a week, and I could no longer do it because my knees just got trashed. So I started getting back into Magic a little bit, and they had come out with drafting, or at least it was popular here in the States for drafting, which it was not when I first started Magic way back in 94. So drafting was a new experience for me during that Urza Saga block. Still my favorite block in all of Magic history.
Yeah, my knowledge for the viewers, my knowledge of older sets is limited because, like I said, I started playing in Betrayers. I've never really delved into the Legacy format, so I don't really know a lot of the older things, which is where Rob's knowledge comes into play.
So there's a lot of great cards in that era that I recall opening and being excited about. Even back then, we knew they were powerful even back then in that day. It was hard to trade for, Gaia's Cradle even back in 1998, though it's nowhere near the $1,000 price tag it has today. Nemesis sort of started killing it for me in Prophecy. It felt like there was a lot of power creep going on. People have said that as long as I can remember, except for during Fallen Empires and Homelands, those sets were just so bad. There was no power creep to be found anywhere in those. But it certainly did start rearing its ugly head that I can first recall, like right around that Urza Saga time frame, and it just seemed to get a little worse and a little worse. That tournament games were only going like 3 and 4 turns, and that just did not have a lot of appeal to me. One of the cards that you look at is called Hatred, which I still hate that card. But it would end games like on turn 2 or 3. It was that feel, that sort of dissatisfaction of sitting down. You barely even have a hand of cards. You put 2 things into play at most, and the game's over. That still seems to happen a little bit today. I don't think they're ever going to get past power creep. So I think that's always going to be a thing.
So yeah, 2003 would have been the very first pack that I ever purchased, which is actually cool to think about. So then I've been dabbling with Magic for 18 years.
When you look back at it, it is sort of amazing to think that you've been involved that long.
When you think about the times you quit and the sets you missed, do you ever go back and when you like somehow come across those sets and you go, damn, I wish I didn't quit during those times?
All the time.
Because I did.
All the time.
I look at Shards of Alara, Alara Reborn, Conflux. I think that these sets, I wish I was playing. Innistrad was my stomping ground, so I played during that. Yes, it was great. Gate Crash, Theros, those are all crazy good. Return to Ravnica was good. Meriden Besiege was amazing. Like these were Scars of Meriden. These are all that clump, that 2010 to 2000. Actually, no more than that. 2009 to 2000 and we'll say 13. That was when I played the most.
Like I can recall some of the other reasons that I got back in throughout the years. I know at some point I got back in because I was trying to get my daughter involved in the game. Picked up some Ixalan stuff, picked up a few packs here and there during that 2015-ish era, and then kind of ducked back out again because I was mainly into board games, and that is why I got back into Magic again. I was actually at the local game store. I believe I was picking up, was it Marvel Champions? And as I was checking out at the counter, he had a Godzilla land, which comes from a secret lair. And I just thought it was super neat that Godzilla was on a Magic card. And I just started looking at cards online and it just sort of revived those juices because I still have a good, healthy part of my collection from that Urza's block forward. Though I did sell off my Urza's valuable cards. I sold off my Gaia's Cradle back in 2010. I had 3 of them I sold for $20 a piece. Ouch.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, just a whole bunch of stuff. Sold a bunch of like Mox Diamonds, Survival of the Fittest, like 4 copies each of all these things. And these are all now $1,000 cards. And the list just goes on. It makes me sick to my stomach when I look at it. However, I sold those so that I could have enough money after my divorce to take my daughter to Disneyland. So, I was actually fortunate to do that. And if I had to do it over again, I would make the exact same call. So I'm good with that. And I know that a lot of people out there get in and out for various reasons, sometimes financial hardships. They had realized they have some cards that are worth a bunch of money. And so they cash out so that, they can keep the lights on at home, go to college, pay off a car loan, whatever it is, especially now, with the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people have fallen on hard times, and I feel bad for people that have had to sell their cards recently, but only so bad because the cards are worth more than they've ever been worth. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, the $500,000 Black Lotus that sold. If you're contemplating getting out of Magic right now, if you don't have to sell your cards, I highly recommend holding on to those things. As Matt mentioned before, he's looked back and said, man, I wish I hadn't missed that era. And I know a lot of people are like, man, I wish I hadn't sold my cards. I don't know how many times I've heard that same story throughout the years.
So Khans of Tarkir was the last set that I purchased anything from. And I only purchased anything from that because they had brought the fetch lands back. And I was trying to think of why I started to come back in Magic, and most of the time, it's a coworker, a friend, somebody that I am acquainted to that brings something else, something about a Magic card or something about a new set that's coming out, and it kind of sparks that like, oh yeah, Magic exists, and then you start looking into the cards, and you're like, okay, now I remember why I love this game. It's super fun. It's just sometimes the interest wanes a little.
Yeah, well, it certainly is cyclical. At least it seems to be that way for most of the players that I know. I'm a little envious of those people that have been able to stick with it for the full 27 years, though I don't know any of them personally. It certainly seems rare to find somebody that has been in the game ever since they first started getting involved with it. So it's always been a curiosity to me why people leave and then come back. For me, it's been sort of a different reason each time I've started and stopped playing and then picked it up again. But the one thing that I realized after that 1997 fire sale, I'll never fire sale again if I can help it. Like I said, the message I'd like to get out there to a lot of people is if you're not sure that you won't ever come back, keep your cards, put them in a nice, dry, safe place, keep them out of sunlight, store them.
Oh man, I was just thinking. You hear about the horror stories. Your comment about keeping it in a nice dry place. I've heard of people that have stored their cards away, and then they got like flooded in a basement, and like they had
That
really
is
good
so
cards.
common. Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that is more common than you
hurt.
would think. Or storage units. That's actually happened to me. Thankfully, all of my Magic cards survived it.
Another tip that I would recommend if you do plan to fire sale, don't sell anything less than like probably $5. Every time I've fire sailed, I look back at the cards that were 50 cents, that were 25 cents, that were bulk, and I'm looking at like Innistrad, and I'm looking at like Parallel Lives that used to be a bulk rare. It used to be like $1. Now it's $63. So if you do bulk sale, at least sell the cards that are worth a lot of money in standard, because typically the standard rotation dictates how much a card's worth. You can't ever control or know how the market's going to go or know what card they're going to print 6 years down the road that makes the 20-cent card worth $10, $40, whatever. So if they're cheap now, it's probably worth just keeping.
And in that vein, what I've heard a lot of people do is if they have sealed product laying around, old sealed product, just get bored one day, but they'll open sealed product. And actually, over the long haul, the sealed boxes end up outpacing the price of the cards within them. There's a great video that Alpha Investments did about that. It's like this alligator chart that shows that the relative value of the cards inside of a sealed product has less to do with the sealed product, the box itself, the wrapper still on it and intact, maintaining a higher trajectory on rate of return. So, in the simplest terms, I'm just saying, don't open sealed product just because you're bored, you're out of the game, you just want to open it one day. Matter of fact, on eBay just yesterday or the day before, there was a guy that said, I got stupid and opened my box of Shards of Alara. And he couldn't get $250 for every card that he opened in there and got 0 bids on a $250 ask. The box price, if you look it up for Shards of Alara, they're around $1,000 a box.
Wow.
So if that just highlights, probably the guy got bored and said, I wonder what's in here. I wonder if I got a card that I remember being great. Opens it up, then discovers the price of the cards are not quite what they expected, then goes and looks and sees what the sealed box price is worth and realizes, oh my Lord. I opened, I was looking for dual lands. I can't remember when on the French, I don't know if it's 4th edition or revised or whatever you want to call it, the black bordered French cards from like basically what would be considered alpha or beta. And I remember that I picked the box up, a starter deck, for like $30, hunting for a foreign dual land. I was going to be fine with a foreign dual land. Hopefully I would hit one out of a starter deck. And the last time I looked, one of those sealed starter decks goes for like $1,000. I did
Wow.
not hit a dual land out of it. I didn't hit anything great out of it. I think Demonic Hordes was the best rare I pulled out of there. Definitely not worth it. Opening old sealed products. So if you can refrain at all from opening old sealed product, highly recommend it. Can you recall any special reasons that got you back into it? Any specifics? Like you said, it's generally a friend or a coworker or somebody reignites your interest by mentioning something going on with Magic, whether it be a secret lair. Can you recall anything that stands out for your return?
A lot of the times it's from a spoiler. So I think the spoiler system that they do is very good. I like the idea of seeing cards before they're printed. Kind of gives you a little bit. It's kind of like a bait and hook, a little bit, but that's not a bad thing because they're doing it in a way that kind of like drives up interest for the next set that's coming out. So I do like spoilers quite a lot. Some people try to avoid them or whatever, but yeah, I think spoilers is the main thing that brings me back every time. It's a friend comes across the new set that's coming out. It's like, oh, dude, have you seen this real sick card? Look at the combo that it can do with this other card. And I think that's what brings it back for me.
That's awesome.
It's the first thing I can think about. There might be more. Sometimes a set like or a format that gets created, like Pauper or Commander or Cube. Cube was a big one as well. Cube got me back into Magic pretty heavily because it was something that had an initial investment, but it was not bad because once you invested with that, you could play that cube for as much as you wanted.
It wasn't quite so cost prohibitive to get back in at dawn. That can be pretty
Yeah.
daunting, especially if you had a fire sale. You realize what you sold off, and then you just sort of discouraged about trying to get back in.
Oh my god, it pains me.
What's that?
Just looking at the cards that I used to have.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man. Step
Like,
away from the keyboard.
They're good. They're good cards, but like back then they were like a dollar mythic. Like Crater Hoof Behemoth. I know he was used in a lot of the standard decks. He's $76 now.
So looking back on it, not really knowing, it's weird cards. Like I definitely remember Lion's Eye Diamond, and I remember getting one of those. I don't remember what I traded it for, but I probably traded it for basic lands. It was such a terrible, weird card that I just don't understand. And then it took them 20 years to come up with good uses for that card, and now it's a $700 card. It's oftentimes the very strange cards that end up being awesome. They've come up with so many new formats nowadays. Have you ever even heard of the 93-94 format? You can only
No.
play cards from 1993 and 1994.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's obviously for like rich people because I can't afford to play that except for cards that nobody cares about that aren't very powerful. But there's a constantly evolving format. Like I love the fact that Commander is it for now, and I hope that there's going to be some new thing none of us have thought about yet that'll come up that'll be just as enthusiastically received by everybody out there that will drag more people in. Like you said, there's lots of different things that have brought you back in. And for me, it was Godzilla. And very similarly, they're introducing, and I think the first ones are the Walking Dead Secret Lair. It has a special little foil symbol at the bottom of the card. It's like a triangular shape that will designate the universes beyond that they just announced. And this is going to have a lot of crossover IPs. You have D&D. I don't know that that's necessarily going to have the universes beyond because it is sort of, it's a core set. It's replacing the core set. So if that is a universes beyond set, I'm going to be curious to see how this all eventually ends up integrating. But what's great about it is I hope that a lot of these concepts, and I know it's upsetting a lot of people because they're going to be Warhammer 40K Commander decks. You have D&D set coming. There's a Lord of the Rings set coming out, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. And I understand that, a lot of what appeals to me are the fantasy genres, but I'm fine with anything, including The Walking Dead, including Warhammer 40K, including the My Little Pony special Secret Lair. I don't care what it is that brings new blood in the game. I've said this over and over again, even on my channel. I really support the new players. We need to do more to support new players, not less.
Man.
And if doing a crossover Universes Beyond helps do that, if releasing the spoilers hooks some people back in that had been out there before and they come back into the game, And what I'd like to hear from a lot of the viewers, what are the things that got you into the game? Or if you were out, what brought you back in? What pushed you out?
And it's kind of daunting for new players to try to return as well. They
I,
don't
I
really make it
agree.
easy, do they?
I've tried my best to make some videos to help out with people just returning. Like one of the big things that people often ask, because it's such an expensive hobby, and don't kid yourself, it's an expensive hobby, whether you're just starting or just coming back, and say, where do I even begin to invest? I don't know what the new meta is, if you will, of playing. Like Commander was just not a thing. Like what I said, when I came back in 98, draft was like something that I had never experienced. I just fell in love with that. But I could see how Cube, which I've never actually played, would be very similar to that draft feeling.
One of the reasons why I stopped playing Magic was because I found myself at tournaments going, am I really having fun? It was during a time where Jace the Mind Sculptor was very oppressive. If you didn't play a Jace the Mind Sculptor deck, you were you're at a very big disadvantage. So then you're like, okay, so then do I buy this $80 to $100 card that I need 4 of? I think I ended up buying Jace at one point when it dropped the $40 to $50 marker. So I ended up getting a playset of Jaces. Then I played that deck, and I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, this isn't fun. So then I started rebuilding decks and started building aggro decks. So I tried to play those decks, and then I found myself sitting at a tournament, and I remember playing against a control deck, and the entire deck was just counter spells, destruction, and I remember just sitting there going, I just scooped because I was looking across, and I'm like, every card I play, I was literally had no cards in my hand. I would just pick up a card. I'm like, is this countered? He'd go, yeah. I'm like, okay. And he'd put a card in his graveyard. I'd put a card in my graveyard. I'd pass the turn, and then I'm like, I'm not actually playing my deck. And this goes to one of your taboo videos. I'm actually not playing my deck. I'm just playing. I'm just
You're
going through
not
the
playing
motion.
Magic at that point. You're watching
Putting
that
a
other
card
person play
from my
Magic.
graveyard or my deck into my graveyard. It was not fun. So I scooped and I stopped playing. I literally just quit. So that left a bad taste in my mouth, and that's one of the reasons why I quit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of put a bigger umbrella on that, is it stopped being fun? Whatever you're doing stopped being fun with Magic. So not being fun, yeah, that's definitely been high on my list. And that's sort of an unfortunate thing. If you're not playing the competitive deck to win the cards, then you're going into your tournament and you're not maximizing your return for your money paid, and that's unfortunate. Thank you very much for being with me today. Hope to see more of you here soon. Thank you everybody for listening to us chat on and on about leaving and coming back to Magic and the reasons that we've had over the past for those entries and exits. And I'd like to hear from all of you. If you would please leave us some comments so that we can get your ideas and figure out what it is that has drawn you to Magic or what has pushed you out and brought you back. That would be fantastic for us to review and maybe give us some more ideas to go over with all of you. Again, remember, you have to comment in this video if you want to be entered in the 100 subscriber giveaway, and we're at 85 already, so only 15 more, and we're going to have another giveaway. And like I said, we're going to add an additional pack for that 100 subscriber level.
Also, I want to know in the comments, people that actually have never quit Magic, what kept you playing the entire time? If you've never set down Magic and took a break, I want to know those people, because those people, to me, those are some dedicated people, and I want to know. Are there any of you guys that have just always played Magic and you've been playing ever since you started?
That certainly, I think, is more rare. So that would be awesome if any of you have. Absolutely, please let us know. Not only have you done that, but when did you start? Like at what set, what block, and what, if you can remember, brought you in the first place. So thanks everybody for visiting with us today and giving us your time. Please leave some comments. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. Like the video if you did. And please spread the word. Help us grow the channel. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.